This is your USMNT Abroad midweek update from March 7th to March 10th of 2022. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to TMTV, and welcome to a channel favorite, the USMNT Abroad series, where every Friday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the midweek, and every Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. Now, as I always say, the episodes on Friday are shorter than the ones on Monday because there are less players playing over the midweek. With that said, the good news is I'll be able to dive into some stories that I wouldn't normally have time to cover on the weekend recaps on Monday. One of them will be the sanctions imposed on Chelsea. We'll talk about it throughout the episode. I'm also looking forward because next week will be roster week, when the USMNT roster is released, or as I like to call it, the week where hell breaks loose, or the week that Greg Berhalter releases hell upon us, or whatever you want to call it. With that said, before we start the episode, don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't already, or dislike button if you don't like me. Either one works. I mean, we do give you the freedom to choose, so do as you wish. Thank you very much. Let's play the intro and let's start with the updates. Okay, so the first updates are not performance updates, they're more of injury updates. So let's start with Tyler Adams from RB Leipzig. This week, Tyler Adams trained separate from the team due to back pain and injuries, man. It does not seem serious, but it's not good. Not one bit. Leipzig also did not play the midweek game because they got a bye in the Europa League. They were going to face Spartak Moscow, but since all Russian clubs were banned, Leipzig has advanced to the quarterfinals of Europa League automatically. So essentially, even though Tyler Adams was not available to play because of the back injury or back pain, they didn't play anyway. The next player is Gio Reyna. He's back to regular training with Borussia Dortmund, and he could be available this weekend to play. By the time you're watching this, if it's not Saturday, maybe he even played already. So the USMNT roster is released next week, as I said. So maybe there's a slight chance that we could see Gio Reyna back. The other injury update is on Daryl Dike from West Brom. West Brom and coach Steve Bruce have confirmed that Daryl Dike is back to full training. The return date is not set yet. They've said it's early April a few weeks ago, so that's probably where it is. Now you may be wondering, why did I say Steve Bruce instead of Valérien Ismaël as the current coach? Well, Steve Bruce is now the new manager of West Brom, which Dike should be fine, but Ismaël was the one that worked with him at Barnsley and that asked for his signing when he was at West Brom. We're about to start the performance updates, but before I get to that, let me quickly update you on the situation with Chris Richards and a possible transfer during the summer. So as we know, Chris Richards is currently loaned to Hoffenheim from Bayern Munich, and according to Sports Bild, Bayern will be looking to sell Chris Richards over the summer for somewhere between the range of 10 to 15 million euros. Considering he joined Bayern for roughly 1 million euros, looks like it was a pretty good investment in my opinion. And honestly, I'm fine with that. Whoever signs him will give him a ton of playing time because that is a pricey fee. Going to Bayern would be great, but if he's going to head back and not play, you might as well go elsewhere in the Bundesliga and get minutes as he's currently doing for Hoffenheim. Okay, we finally reached the performance updates, and let's start with Christian Pulisic versus Josh Sargent as Chelsea faced Norwich over the midweek. On Thursday, Pulisic was not with Chelsea due to an illness. According to Thomas Tuchel, it seemed like he had a fever, so let's end the diarrhea rumors. It seems like Pulisic had a fever. Now, Josh Sargent started for Norwich and played 84 minutes for them. For this match, Chelsea defeated Norwich 3-1. Sargent's performance, well, he had 35 touches, a 65% passing accuracy, won 2 out of 5 ground duels, and there's not much to add there. The first goal Chelsea scored off a corner, and Sargent was the one marking Chalobah, and Chalobah went on to score. So yeah, it's not like it was all on Sargent, but he was poor into play and definitely has blame on that goal. Now let's briefly talk about the issues going on with Chelsea Football Club outside of the field, the sanctions. So Chelsea has had sanctions imposed by the UK government due to Roman Abramovich being the current owner and having to sell the club. Let's talk about how that can possibly affect Christian Pulisic. But before we do that, here's a nice summary from ESPN FC on what the sanctions essentially are and what Chelsea can do and cannot do. So Chelsea can continue to play matches, they can get their broadcasting money, and allow ticket holders to attend matches. However, now they cannot buy new players, renew the contract of any current player, sell new tickets, sell club merch, so you probably can't get a Chelsea jersey at their official store right now. And they also cannot sell the club unless the UK government has control of the process. Now look, I'm not taking sides here. Just what I'm saying is reporting on the sanctions that were imposed on Chelsea. So how does this affect Christian Pulisic? In the short term, it does not affect him at all. Now, if Abramovich never finds a way to sell this club, Chelsea will just not exist anymore if those sanctions continue on. So long term, depending on how this turns out, Pulisic's future lies elsewhere. He would have to go somewhere else. Now, apparently, another part of the sanction, a small detail, is that Chelsea was also capped on how much they can spend on traveling expenses of the club, which is roughly £20,000. Considering they do have to bring a coaching staff, equipment, 18 players minimum, and stay at least 2 nights when they travel, they are probably going to travel using Greyhound, sleeping in hostels, and eating the $1 menu at McDonald's. Pretty much how I travel, essentially. I don't know how they are going to resolve this issue. They do have a trip to France coming up for the Champions League during the midweek next week. Yeah, hopefully I gave a very short summary of what's going on with Chelsea. The final outcome of this, we'll find out very soon. I don't have any updates for that at the time of this recording. Tired of having big tech collecting all your data and spy on you? Well, our sponsor might have the solution to that. Nordvpn is the world's best VPN service, offering fast connectivity, most servers, and next-generation encryption to make sure that everything you do online stays secure. Plus, you can use NordVPN on all your computer and devices no matter the operating system. With NordVPN's unlimited bandwidth, you never have to worry about a slow connection either. And plans start at under $4 per month. So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal right now by going to nordvpn.com/Bleav. That is Bleav as in BLEAV. Use the code for 70% off on your NordVPN plan, plus an additional free month. It's also risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. So again, thank you NordVPN for sponsoring the channel. Now let's go to the players that played in the Champions League during the midweek, because this Norwich-Chelsea game was for the English Premier League. So let's start with Brenden Aaronson from RB Salzburg as they faced Bayern for the Champions League round of 16. On Tuesday, Brenden Aaronson started and went the full 90 minutes for RB Salzburg during their 7-1 loss to Bayern for the Champions League round of 16. You know, 7-1, Thomas Müller scoring, Neuer on goal. Let's just say it reminded me of the 2014 World Cup. But you know, not the good memories, the crappy ones. I was going to probably curse right there, but yeah, I'm avoiding cursing lately. Now, Salzburg did have a great opportunity to score at the second minute of the match, but Bayern scored right after. Salzburg then almost shocked Bayern 2 minutes later, where Brenden almost got an assist, but again, Salzburg could not score off a nice save from Neuer. After that, the game was a bloodbath. It was horrible to watch if you're a Salzburg fan. Despite the awful loss, Brenden Aaronson got a nice assist where he would carry on the ball from his side of the field all the way to the opponent's final third to assist Kenjengard. Hopefully I said his name right. Now look, the result was horrible. Well, it was probably as bad as it can get, to say the least. But Brenden Aaronson still managed to put a decent performance in the second match and a good performance in the first match, along with getting 2 assists in 2 games against Bayern Munich. In terms of stat for this match, Brenden Aaronson had 1 assist, 44 touches, 78% passing accuracy, 2 key passes, and won only 2 out of 10 of his ground duels. The other American involved in the Champions League is Zach Steffen from Manchester City. On Wednesday, Steffen did not make the bench for Manchester City due to a mysterious injury. City went on without Zach Steffen and won regardless. He is likely out of the USMNT March window. He has kind of been hurt since the January camp where he already missed the matches for the US men's national team, so it's no surprise here. I don't know what's going on with Zach Steffen, but I don't expect him to see in the roster call-up next week. Now let's go to the Americans that were playing in the Europa League during the midweek. And the first one I want to talk about is Serginho Dest from Barcelona. On Thursday, Serginho Dest started and went the full 90 minutes for Barcelona during their 0-0 home draw with Galatasaray in the Europa League. Dest played as right back as Jordi Alba took the left back position. For this match, Serginho Dest had 1 interception, 4 tackles, won 6 out of 12 ground duels, had 76 touches, 94% passing accuracy. However, all his crosses, all 3 of them, were inaccurate. Crossing is something that Dest really needs to improve if he wants to become an elite right back one day. He's very technical on the ball, high soccer IQ, has improved a lot defensively and tactically, but the crossing has always been very poor and it continues to be so. The other American in the Europa League and the last one in the Europa League is James Sands from Rangers. On Thursday, Sands started off on the bench and came in at the 75th minute for Rangers during their 3-0 win over Cervena. Good to see him finally get minutes. When he came in, the game was already 3-0 and they had the match under control. Now the Americans in the Europa Conference League, essentially the third division of the Champions League. And let's start with Conrad de la Fuente from Olympique Marseille. On Thursday, Conrad stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Olympique Marseille during their 2-1 win over Basel in the Conference League. His minutes tanked in 2022. It seems like it's due to lack of professionalism, according to many reports in the French media, and Sampaoli isn't happy. The other player that's also in the Europa Conference League is Richie Ledezma, but he's injured and is expected to be back for PSV within 1 week or two right now. Okay, we got a couple more players to cover, and these are the players that played domestic competition, not international competition. We'll start with Ethan Horvath, Alex Maitan, and Dwayne Holmes. Ethan Horvath and Alex Maitan played for Nottingham Forest, and they faced Huddersfield from Dwayne Holmes. On Monday, Ethan Horvath started and went the full 90 minutes for Nottingham Forest during their 2-1 win over Huddersfield in the FA Cup round of 16. For the same match, Dwayne Holmes also started for Huddersfield and played 67 minutes. Now, Nottingham Forest have advanced in the FA Cup with this win, and they will now face Liverpool in the quarterfinals. Now look, something I must address. I know many have said that Ethan Horvath did not get the starting job. It's a cup game, but they played their best. Smaller clubs play their best players as well as they get into the later rounds like the round 16 and quarterfinals. However, we will get the confirmation over the weekend when they play for the English Championship, now that Samba is no longer serving suspension. If Ethan Horvath starts over the weekend for Nottingham Forest, then yes, he earned and has locked in the starting job for Nottingham Forest. One thing I must say as well is the rise of Ethan Horvath at Nottingham Forest comes with perfect timing, as Matt Turner is injured and has yet to play a game for the Revs this season. Zach Steffen is out, as I've said already, since mid-February. So Horvath might be given a golden opportunity for the US men's national team this upcoming window. To a certain extent, even could become the USMNT #1 after this window. Who knows? I know it might be a stretch of what I'm saying, but it is very much possible. Next up is Tim Ream and Anthony Robinson from Fulham, or Jedi. Sorry, I gotta start calling him Jedi more often. On Tuesday, Ream and Robinson started and went the full 90 minutes for Fulham during their 5-1 win over Swansea. For this match, Ream had 1 clearance, 1 block shot, 94 touches, 93.4% passing accuracy, along with 1 key pass. As for Jedi, he had 1 clearance, 4 interceptions, 1 tackle, won 4 out of 4 aerial duels, won 2 out of 4 ground duels, had 92 touches, and a 77% passing accuracy. Now listen, Fulham is a great example to show the gap between the English Premier League and the Championship. Fulham this season has the best defense in the Championship alongside Bournemouth with just 30 goals allowed. They also have the strongest offense with 89 goals scored. The second best offense has only 53 goals scored. They also lead the league with some comfort. Now, their current team is not stronger than their last season's team, maybe even weaker than their Premier League team. In the Premier League last season, they were relegated 11 points behind Burnley, the first team out of the relegation zone. The gap is big. It's why, very often, we get the so-called yo-yo clubs, which is why I said last year DK needed to develop more despite his short success in the English Championship. Yeah, obviously a player can still be good in the Championship and be good in the Premier League. I'm just trying to show you with numbers how big this gap actually is. Next up is Jonathan Gomez from Real Sociedad B. On Monday, Jonathan Gomez started and played 86 minutes for Real Sociedad B during their 2-1 win over Sporting Gijón in La Liga 2. They have been bouncing back lately. That's the 3rd win in a row. For this match, Jonathan Gomez had 1 clearance, 1 interception, won 2 out of 3 ground duels, had 48 touches, 2 key passes, and 73% passing accuracy. Next up is Alan Sonora from Independiente in Argentina. On Monday, Alan Sonora started off on the bench and came in at halftime for Independiente during their 3-3 draw with Godoy Cruz. Now, the last player I want to talk about is Johnny Cardoso from Internacional in Brazil. On Wednesday, Johnny Cardoso started off on the bench and came in at the final 15 minutes of the Grenal Derby for Internacional during their 1-0 win over Grêmio. That is a massive derby in South America, one of the biggest derbies in Brazil, so that is a huge win for Internacional and Johnny. Alright everyone, before I wrap up this video, this does it for the performance of the Americans abroad, but I do want to mention real quick the American clubs or the MLS clubs abroad that played in the CONCACAF Champions League because things are looking good there. Actually, MLS might win the CONCACAF Champions League this season. It's possible. Let's talk about the results real quick, and then I'll wrap up the video. I know this is not an Americans Abroad. I'm not going to cover each player, but I just want to talk about it very quickly in this video just because we have a little bit more time. So, the MLS clubs did pretty well this midweek. New York City FC defeated Comunicaciones 3-1, the team that eliminated the Colorado Rapids. The Seattle Sounders defeated Club León, Liga MX Club, at home in Seattle. Now, New England defeated Pumas 3-0 at New England. Now, Montreal, the Canadian club in MLS, was defeated by Cruz Azul at Mexico. Now, if 3 out of the 4 MLS clubs advance, I will be highly optimistic that we can win this edition. And it's looking very likely that New York City FC, Sounders, and New England will advance for sure. 90% sure in my opinion. Now Montreal, we'll see. Mexican clubs do struggle in Canada. The second leg is in Canada. Maybe Montreal advances, and then we'll have an all MLS semifinals and guaranteed to have an MLS club win the CONCACAF Champions League and play in the Club World Cup, which would be massive for the league. All right, everyone, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I can't wait to be back on Monday with the USMNT Abroad weekend recap and 2 roster week, and then World Cup qualifying will finally arrive. If you're going to the Orlando game, I hope to meet you there. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and have a great day.